While we all appreciate spontaneity, some things just require a good, solid plan. When you have a baby, you make a birth plan. When you take a trip, you follow an itinerary. When the apocalypse is nigh, you invoke the rules of Zombieland. But unless you're a psychopomp, you may not have thought to make a death plan, even though it's the one sure thing we can all plan on. Today, we continue our interview with Dale, who discusses how to make sure your soul knows what to do after leaving your body, after revealing the scientific method behind limitless manifestation. Lost souls, prepare to be found, today on Homespun Haints.
Hello, Hainted Loves. Welcome to Homespun Haints. I'm Becky.
Hey, I'm Diana.
I sound a little different. I know, because I am recording from a condo in Miami.
Oh, the torture.
Yeah, it's just terrible. No, I'm one of the many victims of that crazy tech outage that happened on Friday that, grounded everybody.
Oh, yeah. You who listen from the future, you remember that day? Remember the day that this happened?
That the world stood still, 3 days ago.
8,000 flights grounded? I'd say the world stood still. People in smoggy cities were probably looking at clear skies going, what's going on?
So I have no mic. I am recording on my whatever I could find. I was able to find a colander and a cheese grater, and together I fashioned this.
You created a parabolic antenna out of it.
Because this is how dedicated we are. We are going to bring you the show. The show must go on. Well, Since I was in Florida, I decided to take a little trip down to a very haunted place.
Ooh. Wait, there's haunted places in Florida? What?
Oh my gosh, the entire state's haunted. We know this.
It's just about as haunted as it gets. It's like Savannah just extends all the way down.
So I borrowed my in-laws' car and I drove my family to Key West.
Cool.
Yeah, I've never been before. Have you been, Diana?
Yes, I have been. I was the one who advised you to look out for cats with more toes than average and find some way to document them, because you would be regretful if you didn't document all the toes.
Oh, yes.
Toes.
I documented and I sent you. I sent Diana tons
you
of
did.
photos of multiple beans.
I forwarded them to everybody I was talking to at the same time. I was like, look what Becky's texting me. It's a cat with 75 toes.
They were really cute and docile, and they let me just pick up their feet and rub my face on them and take photos of them.
Yep.
Some of them had 5 back toes too. It was weird.
Did you witness any of them opening doorknobs or doing other things that opposable thumbs are required for? Manipulating keys, possessing nuclear codes.
They were definitely opening doors.
They're planning the apocalypse.
All cats have thumbs, but these cats had 2 thumbs. Most cats only have 4 toes on their back paws, so they have 5 on the front and 4 on the back, 18 in total. These kitties had 5 on the back. So they had 2 thumbs.
And 6 on the front.
So at least 22 toe beans.
So cute. Do they live all over the island, or are they mainly concentrated at the Hemingway house still?
The only ones that would let me get close enough to see their toes were at the Hemingway house.
They're used to it. Yeah.
I did not visit Robert the doll. For everybody who's thinking about
What?
No. Well, I asked a lot of
Then how did your luck turn so sour?
It would have been a lot worse if we had. Being stuck in Miami, not the worst thing. I asked several locals about Robert the doll. Several.
Yeah.
I said, I want to see Robert the doll. Where is he located? And every single one of them crossed themselves and said, are you sure?
They would?
Yeah. They're like, we won't go there. Even the person giving our ghost tour was like, I wouldn't go there.
Why?
They're terrified of him.
But why?
Because he will mess up your life.
Well, only if you don't respect him, right? You know how to respect haunted dolls.
I just didn't go. But I saw the house where he was born.
Where he was born. Okay.
Yeah, I got some good photos of that. We'll share them on our site.
Yeah.
And the kids were really excited about it, too. They're like, whoa, Robert the doll. But I did take them on a snorkeling trip out into the Atlantic.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
And that was not fun. Let me tell you about it. So they took us way out into the Atlantic. You couldn't see any land. They opened the hatch and said, pool's open, go on in. First of all, my daughter didn't want to use a flotation device. And my young son, I realized after the fact I was the only one with like actual kids on the boat. That should have been a sign. My young son struggled with his gear. He didn't like the way it felt. So we go out and my daughter starts to drown. So I'm like freaking out, trying to like pull her back to the boat, get somebody to throw us a flotation device. We finally get her straightened up, and I can hear my son's screams from not liking the way the device felt in his mouth and getting water in it. So we got him situated. And then my husband, he's like, I'm going back to the boat.
What?
Because he couldn't, I don't know what they were thinking. We're in the middle of the ocean. Wear a flotation device. Like, you don't want to be swimming. Finally, we're all doing okay. Looking down at the water. I'm trying to corral my 2 young children because we're in the middle of the Atlantic. We are able to see the reef, and they're looking, and they're having a good time. And I saw the drop-off beyond the reef. And that's what did it. The stress of like trying to keep my daughter afloat, keep my son afloat, keep my husband afloat. I couldn't handle it anymore. I realized I couldn't breathe. I was like, back in the boat now! And I managed to get them back in the boat. And I got on the stairs of the boat and I was like, just could barely handle it. And the captain of the boat comes down and was like, hey, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm having a panic attack. He's like, yeah, I can imagine it's really rough doing this with kids. I'm like, no, really, I'm having a panic attack. And they're like, oh, okay, you want a drink? And I was like, well, fuck, sure. Why not?
I'm not going back in the water. I might as well get trashed.
But I'm sick from the rocking of the boat. I was like bending over the side of the boat and then taking a sip of a mimosa, and bending over the side of the boat and then taking a sip of a mimosa. My mimosa just kept getting refilled. Apparently these guys weren't very good at dealing with psychological distress, but they're really good at refilling your drink.
Some could argue those are the same. People have been self-medicating with mimosas for many a generation.
Yeah, so by 11 in the morning, I was trashed. I don't drink anymore.
Except when you're having a panic attack on the open ocean. I understand. I completely understand. I think you can be absolved from that responsibility.
I forgave myself. But by the time we got off that boat, I was best friends with everyone. I told everyone my life story. I ran into this couple from Connecticut. I was telling them about my ultrasound photos. But it was okay because it was Key West, so it was absolutely fine to wander into a restaurant. They offered me a drink, and I was like, I don't need it anymore! I'll try not to throw up on your table. Yeah, it was great. It's good times. I highly recommend.
Nice.
Yeah, go snorkeling in the ocean with your children. Do it.
But you were saying that being in the city in Key West was no better for your children.
It just depends on which streets you go down. Key West with kids, doable. Make sure they know how to swim. And make sure that you are in a phase of your life where you can consume alcohol.
And make sure you stay off which street? Where were the strap-on harnesses your kids were asking about?
It was on Duval Street, the main street.
Duval, okay. My parents took me to Bourbon Street when I was about your son's age.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I decided what kind of breasts I wanted to have when I grew up.
Boobies.
So I saw so many different kinds of boobs. I was like, oh, those kind are objectively the best. And I ended up with that kind of boobs, so I'm happy.
Oh, see, it's like you predicted it.
It turned out to be true. I don't know how I did that.
Can you make a prediction that we're going to be on the Graham Norton show this time next year?
No, only when I was 8.
Dang it. All right.
I can't do it anymore, sorry.
Well, speaking of thinking, today we're going to continue with our interview with Dale Allen-Rowse. As you know, we heard from him last week regarding shamanism and his automatic writing. Now we're going to sit down and chat with him a little bit about manifestation and a visitation from the dead.
Oh man, I had a rough day.
What happened, honey?
I was out with the guys and they said I wasn't spooky enough.
Oh, honey, how could they say that to you? You're hella spooky.
You think so?
Of course. After all, you came up with the ectoplasm being ghost jizz theory, and you've been scratched by more horny ghosts than anyone else I know.
Well, I suppose you're right.
But if you're really worried about it, I have just the thing.
Oh, wow! A Spooky AF t-shirt?
That's right. Our Spooky AF line comes in shirt, sweatshirt, pillow, and even a high-quality mug.
Man, those are super awesome, especially for something with profanity on it.
What's even better, all these items were hand-lettered exclusively for Homespun Hates by world-renowned calligrapher Nikki Malik.
Holy ghostly cannoli, that's amazing.
From now on, whenever you brandish your Spooky AF gear, no one will accuse you of being boring.
Yeah, I'm Spooky AF.
Visit homespunhates.com for all Spooky AF merchandise. You mentioned when we first got on here that you've worked with people who could actually speak with the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. And that's what I love about shamanism. There is no good, there is no bad. There is no right, there is no wrong, there is no sainthood, there is no evil. All just comes down to the energy signature of that individual and whatever else. There is no evil other than human evil. You go out into nature, you can't show me evil. You can't show me a wolf killing a rabbit and calling that evil. Evil that we talk about, like in movies and stuff like that, only exists in the human mind. So that immediately eradicates any type of fear that you might have around anything or entity that might be evil. And I'm not saying that there aren't entities that are not helpful or that have their own agenda. I've certainly come into that. But I have never come into contact with true, real evil outside of the human mind. I know this one woman that I was working with, she just had the gift. And we all learned this in my shaman school, and we all practiced on each other getting messages from a loved one. When we were practicing in school, the woman that I was working with, the other student, because we practiced on the other students, we each take a turn, like trying to get a message from a deceased relative to give to the other student. You know, the woman that I was working with, she said, and this really blew my mind too, because, you know, my Baptist minister father had no ability to talk to me in his life, like at all. And he was very ingrained in his way was right. And the message that she got from my dead father was that he was proud of me for the work that I'm doing now, and that it's work that he couldn't do.
Oh.
And that kind of like, that seemed very specific to me, because I've been doing all this work writing these books and stuff like this.
That must have been very healing, too, to hear that.
It was. It really was. And that was a surprise, because I didn't think I had a lot of feelings around that, you know, and my father died. I'm like, okay, next, whatever. I mean, what do you do when abusive relation ends? You breathe a sigh of relief, you know, for the most part. That was quite healing to maybe think that my father is engaged in and aware of and participating in, like, seeing the value of what I'm trying to do in terms of bringing healing to the world. But some people have that gift, and this woman that I was working with just did. And then, like, she, you know, was saying all these things about all these other people, and that she was suddenly becoming aware of that had either taken place in the room that we were in or in very specific other rooms. It's just a natural gift. It's like my channeling. I can't not have that gift. It will always be an innate part of me. You gotta allow it to be true. You gotta allow that voice that's telling you a certain thing to be true. Now, how do you know it's true? Well, how do you know your name, right? My name is Dale. I know that's my name because I know it. And we try and make it more complicated than that. But how do you really know? How do you really know your name? Well, I don't know else how to explain it. I know my name because I know my name. I know my gift because I know my gift. I know it because I feel it in a certain way.
Actually, Dale, this is something that I've been trying to help Becky open her mind to. The idea of when you've got these horrible, horrible ancestors that you want nothing to do with at all.
Yes.
On the other side, they're not the same behavior.
They're not their
right
entity. They're more to their highest version of themselves than they
Right.
ever were on planet Earth. Yes.
My great-grandmother came back as a nasty yippy dog just to bother us. I don't know how much I feel about that.
They will do that for sure.
But I guess I'm not to the point where I am ready to accept that. Maybe I will be at some point. I have got some bad ones in there.
Yeah, I do too. I have the worst of the worst in my family. The worst of the worst are my relatives. And so you think I want to go, down that tunnel of light and meet those assholes? No, I do not. I don't want anything to do with them ever again. However, we do know that when you cross behind the veil, for real, everything will be different. They will be different. They will be more attached to, like I said, their highest self than they ever were allowed themselves to be on Earth. However, everybody can get to their highest version of themselves on Earth. You don't have to wait until you're dead.
Nice. That's nice to know. Now, does everybody cross over the veil? We talk about ghosts a lot here, and a lot of people believe that a lot of times when you encounter a spirit or a ghost, it's because they haven't. They're somehow stuck in between.
Right. And a lot of that has to do because we don't deal in our own death. We do not pre-plan our own deaths, nor do we have a death plan. That's where religion comes in, and it really helps people to cross over because they have a set of rules and principles that they've adopted as a belief that helps them in that manner. A lot of people have never thought or spent a lot of time thinking about their own death. You need to. You seriously need to. You need to have a plan. You need to understand for yourself what you want to do. Are you the type of soul who wants to visit here for a few days and say some goodbyes and have some closures and do some other stuff? Or do you want to cross over immediately? Both of those are options that are available to you if you have pre-programmed it or remembered forward to your death. I help a lot of people, especially, having dealt with a really tough diagnosis myself, in helping them handle that transition. And how much have you prepared for your own transition? This is a big deal. You need to spend some time for yourself so that when the time comes, you're not grasping at straws and trying to figure it out in the moment, but rather you have a plan. I know I'm going to be here for 5 days. I'm going to have the opportunity to say goodbye. I'm going to have the opportunity to visit some places I want to see before I leave. Or I just want to cross over and be done because this place absolutely sucks.
I can see it from both angles.
Sure. Exactly. Yes, but I do believe that some people do get caught not being able to fully cross over because they're just lost in the mix. They didn't have a plan and they just were kind of winging it and they're kind of lost and they don't know where they're going, right? Lost souls. That's just what they are. They have not been a conscious person who has planned for this event, and now here they are.
Do those people, if they're stuck, do they reach that enlightenment or their higher selves, or do they just stay stuck?
No.
Okay.
And that's why it's neither here nor there. It's the in-between. It's not heaven, it's not hell, it's not earth, it's not anywhere else. It's just being stuck. If you have a ghost that doesn't know what to do with that, I'm happy to come in and meet with them and give them direction and guidance. I'm not here just to work with the living. I'm perfectly happy because, again, I have no fear. Walk through the valley of death and have no fear. That is me. That is absolutely me, because I have gotten to the point where I understand how big and powerful I am as a human. Personal power is the ability to feel bigger than your problems, and I feel bigger than every single problem that you could ever put in front of me. The universe is far more flexible than we have ever been taught. When you start to study manifesting as a science rather than as a belief or as a religious idea, all we need to do is learn the controls and levers of the game, and then you win.
Okay.
In shamanism, there's what we consider the veil, and the veil is the conscious world. But when you go behind the veil into the off-grid, like when you start to really play in that realm, when you start to work with allies in that realm, when you start to make things happen in your own life through the off-grid, you realize and recognize the power that's there that you can tap into. I am so good at manifesting now. I am like blowing my own mind because it takes times and steps, but once you start to see that actually, like the proof come into your own life, and you're like, oh, wow, we are powerful. We really are so much more powerful. And the entire like soup that we're like walking around, this cosmic soup that's just all around us, is being directed by us. It is waiting for us to do the thing for it to respond. But most people don't recognize that, and so they're just like unconsciously creating this kind of chaos in their own life, and they don't wonder why, life is awesome. It's because they just don't know the dials and levers to pull in order to actually manifest truly what they want. But here's the thing. Manifesting doesn't happen like you think it's going to happen. Because a lot of times people think that manifesting is to avoid problems. And manifesting often creates more problems. Because you're asking, okay, the universe, I want $1 million. Well, then suddenly you're in this massive car crash and like all these other things, like these horrible things are happening to you. And you're like, oh, here's your award for being in a car crash, $1 million. And you're like, oh, that's not how I thought that was gonna go.
It's like a monkey's paw thing.
What are some of your experiences with manifestation that would not be believable had you not witnessed them for yourself?
So there's two. The first one, when I really started to play with this, and I'm like, okay, let me like test my own abilities here and see if I'm just full of crap. Or can I actually like affect the ethers in the way that I've been talking about in my books? So the first thing I asked for was a life of ease. We had just moved up here to the ranch, and it was super expensive. I was so overwhelmed. Like, we don't even have trash service. I had to learn how to take our trash to the dump. Like, this little gay boy from nowhere, Canada, is like, like, it's a lot for me to, like, try and put together how to run a farm. It was all super difficult, and we had this bloodhound that we had just gotten as a puppy, and he was crazy and everything else like this, and blah, blah, blah. And my work situation was not awesome, and so my first ask of the universe was a life of ease.
That's a smart first ask.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a great thing to ask for.
So then my dog dies, like almost immediately. Like an hour after I made the ask, my dog runs out into the road and is killed.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. Wow. But this dog was pure chaos. This dog could not be kept, like we have 5 acres, so you can't keep the perimeter of the entire property in sight at all times.
Yeah. And
he would go under the fences, he would go over the fences. There was no stopping this dog. And then he was killing our ducks. So like after he died, and as tragic and horrific and heartbreaking as that was, our property was returned to calm, where we didn't have to worry about one pet killing another pet. We didn't have to constantly worry where he was. When I'm driving up to the property, I'm not looking. Is he in? Is he out? Like there was just, and I didn't even know like how much chaos that animal was. Like our perimeter of our property looked like a war zone because he was constantly getting out. Every day he was getting out. And it was just, there was nothing you could do to keep this dog on the property despite our best efforts because he was just too smart and too bullheaded. So that was the first thing. And then my job went away. Right?
Oh.
I lose my job. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. But all these things are living in service to me getting a life of ease. So I lost that job, and then I'm a real estate agent. And so I ended up going with a new brokerage firm in town. And I was immediately introduced to a woman who is developing this area where I live, because that was part of the problem, is I live remotely. Like, how am I supposed to sell houses that are an hour away? Like, it was just, again, it was too difficult. And this woman from the Netherlands flew to LA and then rented a car and came to my house to interview me for this job. And we are now building sustainable cities all around the globe. I didn't even have to leave my house for the job interview. And it is the most lucrative job I've ever had in my entire life. That's manifesting.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, you got to look at not the pain, because the pain is often leading you to what you have asked for. Pain can't be the enemy. You have to allow whatever it is you're asking for to unfold in its own horrific way, often, to get you to where you're going. And you just have to keep dialing into where you're going in order to manifest. So that was my first ask, a life of ease. I got an amazing job, and we got a new dog that loves our ducks, isn't trying to kill our ducks, that like really enjoys. So now the property is in harmony. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my entire life, and I have a job that I love that like lights me up every day because I'm surrounded by smart, intelligent people that I find inspiring. That's a life of ease.
Absolutely.
That sounds amazing.
There's two ways you can achieve a goal. You can hustle or you can align. We all know hustle. Think about my real estate career, right? I got out there and I did open houses and I met a bunch of people and I made cold calls and I went door knocking. I hustled and I hustled and I hustled and I hustled. And yes, it got me there to a really successful place in real estate. However, when I learned better, when I learned how to align rather than hustle, I didn't have to leave my house for the job interview. I now have the most lucrative job that I've ever had in my entire life. I'm making sustainable cities around the globe. These are all things that align with my core beliefs, right? And again, I didn't have to leave the house for the job interview. That's alignment.
That is so much alignment. Yes.
Yes.
So how does somebody go about aligning? Like, what's the first step?
The first step is abandoning the five senses.
Okay.
You cannot participate in the world around you. You have to find the dream, the vision of your future, and you have to only live there, not in what you see. Because what happens is, like, most people will language back to the world what they see. And they're like, oh, I don't feel good today, or, oh, this is going on, oh, people are stupid, oh, look at people on social media, whatever. Like, they're living in the world and saying the world back to the world. There's no change there. It's all flat. There's no energy exchange at all. There's no room for manifesting, for changing the energy around you. When you want to start manifesting, the first thing I did was, let me talk about the $1 million that I manifested out of nowhere. So I was super broke, and I'm like, okay, I need $1 million. Like, I just need cash. Like, how do I do that? How do I manifest $1 million out of nowhere? Well, okay, let's see. So the first thing I did, I never said a word or a thought about any financial troubles I might be having. Instead, all I did was tell myself I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. My entire, like, an hour to 3 hours that I do every day in meditation and in listening was all focused on my $1 million, that I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. And as I'm blessing myself and honoring myself, I'm just keep telling myself, I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire. And that was just my entire vision and my dream. That's all I saw. That's all I talked about. That's all I vibed with, because I could very easily vibe with being a broke person, right? Not being financially secure, having bills that I could so easily go down that road and language all that lack. But when you language lack into your own personal space, into your own vibe, that's what you're getting. But I was having nothing to do with that. I was not manifesting lack at all. I wasn't interested in talking about it, thinking about it, nothing. I was only focused on that $1 million, and I didn't care what I had to do. I was going to get $1 million. So then I started talking to my new boss, and she was like, yeah, we're going to have to need, a bunch of houses for this new project that we're doing up in Washington State, just south of Tacoma. Probably we're going to start with 93 homes. I'm like, okay, great. So I used to work for this prefab housing company, and I was like, my new boss needs a bunch of houses. You guys deliver houses. How much are you going to pay me for every house that I sell? And they said, well, we'll give you $15,000 per house. I'm like, great. She then comes here, orders 93 houses. That's $1.4 million.
Damn. Nice. Just for being a broker at that point.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But again, it was just seeing and living in the dream. It was never languaging what I'm seeing, never languaging lack, never like participating in the world that was clearly in front of me. Like, it's not paid, but not participating in that at all. At all. You got to live in the dream. You got to see the dream. You got to language the dream. You got to vibe with the dream, right? Because then there's an energy exchange that's not currently happening. Anytime you're languaging something new, there's an energy exchange that's going on with you and your immediate universe.
Sure. And how do you differentiate that living within that alternate reality that's not what you're experiencing or seeing or hearing or feeling, and just being delusional and being in denial?
Yes. It is. It's being delusional. Yeah, that's where you have to go. You have to go there in your mind. You have to be delusional and crazy. You have to only see and talk about the dream and post about the dream and cut out photos of the dream and put it on a vision board, right? Like all that stuff. It's all the dream, all the dream, all the dream. It's nothing in your reality that you do not care for. Don't language it. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. Don't see it.
Wow.
How long did you have to be in this, I guess, reality in your mind before it actually happened?
Well, it's getting faster and faster, and that's the thing. Like my first ask of the universe, I need a life of ease. That took several months, but me manifesting $1 million was about 6 weeks.
Wow.
That is incredible, and again, inspirational.
And especially when you think of it as a science with steps that anybody can learn.
Right. And that's what I've been like absolutely determined to do, is to get all of this like esoteric like stuff that kind of lives as ideas into actionable items, into actual steps that you can kind of, take from point A to point B.
Sure. Yeah, I used to be a student of the School of Metaphysics for a while, and they definitely focus a ton on the universal laws and manifestation, etc. But I never really felt like I was given a step-by-step plan that had any kind of objective worth to it.
If anybody wants to go and see this actually in action, right, my YouTube channel has been in existence for many years now. Nice. And if you go back to my early videos, I am a crazy lunatic. Like I'm cussing people out. I am just like, I'm unhealthy in 1,000 different ways. I'm unhappy in 1,000 different ways. I'm finding fault in others. I'm finding fault in the past. I'm living in the future. I'm not present. I'm just a cycle of lack and complaint, right? And I knew better, but I didn't know how to bring it into like my actual life. And so that's why I started doing the videos, is to kind of track myself. And as I would watch my videos back, I could more and more easily spot my crazy. I could more and more easily identify where I was off. And so my entire YouTube channel is really documenting my own personal evolution as a soul. Plus, it's set to a disco beat, so.
I love that. While we're on the topic, tell people where they can find your YouTube channel.
Oh, sure. So everything's at the same place. Like, it's all at Dale Allen-Rowse, and that's DaleAllenRowse. So all social media is at Dale Allen-Rowse. My website is www.daleallenrowse.com. Like, it's all my name. So wherever you're looking, that you should be able to find me there.
Awesome. Okay. All right.
Yeah, on Amazon too for all my books.
Okay, wonderful.
Do you have anything you wanted to share that we didn't cover?
Well, just that I think you guys are awesome. I think what you guys are doing is really important. I really believe what you, like I said, I've been a fan. Like, I love your podcast, and I just, I just want to take the time to acknowledge you, because the people behind the scenes, the people who are setting this up, the people who are like bringing this type of information to the airways, like, you guys need to be acknowledged for your work and all that you do, because this is, it's a heavy lift. I get it. I too have my own, YouTube channel and everything, and trying to keep up with it, and a life and family and jobs and everything else. Like, it's a lot. So I want to thank you guys for all that you do in bringing this whole thing to fruition.
Thank you. That's kind. Yes, we are. We are millionaires. We are $1 million podcast.
Yes, we're just
we're owning that from now on. We are $1 million podcast.
My goal. I'm going to put it out there now. I want to be on the Graham Norton show. I don't know why, but that's my goal. So
love that. Yeah.
I'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Well, Haunted Loves, what do you think? I know that I learned a lot about picturing what I want in life and allowing the universe to catch up with my plan. If you wanted to manifest something, would you manifest $1 million? Would you manifest 1 million ducks? Because when you get all your ducks in a row, you're gonna have a spooky day.
Homespun Haints is hosted by Becky Kielimnik and Diana Doty
and produced by Homespun Haints Media, LLC. Editing and music by Becky Kilimnik. Show notes by Diana Doty. If you have a ghost story and you'd like to be considered as a guest for this podcast, please visit our website at homespunhaints.com/submit.